My parents gave my twin sister a luxury Hawaii trip for graduation. Well, I got nothing. She earned it. You didn't, they shrugged. I nodded without arguing. When they returned home to find my new sports car in the driveway, their celebratory mood quickly turned to shocked silence. I, a 25-year-old male, was treated differently my entire life. Growing up as a twin wasn't what the cute Instagram posts make it out to be. My sister was always the golden child, brilliant, charming, effortlessly popular. I was, well, the other one, the quiet kid who preferred computers to crowds. From childhood, the pattern was clear. She got praise, I got criticism. She got opportunities, I got overlooked. Our parents never tried to hide their favoritism. When we were 16, my sister got a car for our birthday. I got a practical bus pass because you don't really go anywhere anyway. When we graduated high school, she got a weekend trip to New York. I got a $50 gift card to Best Buy. College was my chance to find my own path. While my sister went to our parents' alma mater, fully funded with an apartment paid for, I went to a state school with some scholarships and worked part-time to cover expenses. No help from my parents. They said I needed to learn responsibility. Meanwhile, they Venmo'd my sister money whenever she mentioned being low on funds. Despite everything, I found my niche in college, started freelance video editing for content creators, and built a solid client base. My parents never asked about my work. They just assumed I was playing around on the computer. When graduation approached, I knew better than to expect much, but what happened still blindsided me. At our family dinner celebrating the end of finals, my parents handed my sister an envelope. Inside was a confirmation for a 2-week luxury vacation at a beachfront resort, first-class flights, the works. Must have cost at least $15,000. Then they looked at me and said nothing, just a congrats on finishing and a pat on the shoulder. When I asked if there was something for me too, my father actually laughed. Your sister earned this trip, Dean's List all 4 years, job lined up at my friend's company. What have you done besides playing on your computer? My mother nodded along. You should follow your sister's example instead of expecting handouts. My sister just smiled smugly, already planning her Instagram post from the beach. I nodded without arguing. What was the point? This was just the latest confirmation of what I'd always known. 2 weeks later, they all left for Hawaii. My parents decided to join my sister for the first week. I stayed behind, supposedly to job hunt, but really to execute the plan I'd been quietly working on. See, those freelance gigs paid better than my parents realized. I'd been living frugally, saving aggressively. Now it was time to treat myself. I had my eye on a slightly used Mustang GT at a local dealership, black with red trim, in beautiful condition, only 12,000 miles. I'd already test-driven it twice before graduation. The day after they left, I went to the dealership, made the deal, and drove my new car home, parking it right in the driveway where it couldn't be missed. When they returned from Hawaii, their faces were priceless. My father actually stopped mid-sentence about my sister's amazing snorkeling experience when he saw it. What the hell is that? He demanded. My graduation present to myself, I replied calmly. Like it? My mother's eyes widened. You can't afford that. I smiled and handed them a folder containing the receipt showing I'd paid cash, along with a summary of my freelance earnings from the past 2 years. Turns out playing on my computer is actually a marketable skill. I've been working with several content creators. That hobby paid for this car, my apartment security deposit, and still left me with savings. My sister scrolled through the social media accounts I mentioned I'd been working with. My father looked like he was having trouble processing. Why didn't you tell us? You never asked, I said simply and honestly. You never seemed interested in my successes, only my sister's. The next few days were awkward. My mother tried to backpedal, claiming they'd always believed in me. My father oscillated between being impressed by my earnings and annoyed that I'd shown them up. My sister was suddenly interested in my connections. I declined her request for help. You already have everything handed to you. This is my thing. As I was leaving their house, my father made a comment about how I should be careful with flashy purchases and that I should have invested the money instead. I paused at the door. Funny, you didn't give my sister that advice about her Hawaii trip. Update 1. 3 months since the car incident, and my parents have changed tactics. My mother calls regularly, asking about my work. My father wants to discuss investment strategies for my newfound income. It's transparent. They realized I have resources they didn't know about. Meanwhile, my sister's job at my father's friend's company didn't work out. Apparently, she expected special treatment and had what her boss called an attitude problem. She was let go after 2 months. This created a perfect storm. My sister moved back home, jobless and bitter. My parents were embarrassed among their friends, and suddenly I was getting calls asking if I had any connections that might help my sister. Maybe she could assist you with your video thing, my mother suggested. She's very creative. I explained that my clients hire me for technical skills that take years to develop. My sister had never shown interest in digital media or editing. My father called the next day. Your sister is struggling. Would it kill you to throw her a bone? I reminded him of all the times I'd struggled with no help offered. Remember when I couldn't afford textbooks sophomore year? You told me it would build character. Things escalated at a family dinner when my sister showed me her newly created digital media consultant profile. I've been watching tutorials, she announced. I could totally do what you do. I just need you to introduce me to some clients. When I declined, she accused me of sabotaging her career out of jealousy. My parents backed her up, saying I was being unnecessarily competitive. I pointed out that I'd built my client base through hard work and skill development, with not family connections. As I was leaving, I overheard my mother suggesting they could dip into their vacation fund to help my sister financially, the same fund they couldn't touch when I needed help with college expenses. Update 2. 6 months have passed after the family dinner argument. I created some distance, limited contact, and declined most family gatherings. I focused on growing my business instead. I landed a contract with a streaming platform to edit promotional content. The pay was excellent, the work challenging but rewarding. Then, out of nowhere, my sister texted me, saying she'd applied for a position at the same streaming platform, using my name as a reference without asking me. When I called her about it, she said, "But we're family, and I have been learning editing by watching your old projects." When I visited my parents' house, she'd been going through my old hard drives stored at our parents' house, drives containing client work I'd backed up years ago. This potentially violated confidentiality agreements with my clients. My parents dismissed my concerns. "She's just trying to learn," my mother said. I removed all my professional materials from my childhood bedroom. When my mother asked why, I explained I couldn't trust them to respect my boundaries. Later, I discovered my sister had sent samples to potential employers, samples that were actually clips from my portfolio with minor changes. "That's stealing my work," I told them. My father waved it off. "I'm sure it was just a misunderstanding." I contacted the companies my sister had applied to and explained the situation. It was necessary to protect my professional reputation. The final straw came when my sister created social media accounts using a business name nearly identical to mine, claiming years of experience and using my client list. After consulting with a lawyer friend, I sent her a formal cease and desist letter. The family was furious. My mother said I was tearing the family apart over computer videos. My father threatened to disown me if I didn't withdraw the letter. I held firm. This isn't about family. This is about professional ethics. They eventually realized I wasn't backing down. My sister removed the fake accounts, and we agreed not to discuss career matters at family gatherings. Meanwhile, my streaming contract led to more opportunities. I moved from my apartment to a small house with a home office and hired help for my growing client list. My father texted, "Your mother and I have been thinking. Perhaps we misjudged your career path. We'd like to discuss investing in your business venture." I haven't responded yet. Final update. It's been almost a year since my parents tried to invest in my business, and I think this will be my final update. I never responded to my father's investment text. Instead, I continued building my life independently. My business is thriving, with a small team helping with the workload. About 2 months after their offer, I received a business proposal from my father's attorney. They wanted to contribute $50,000 in exchange for 40% ownership of my company and decision-making authority. The proposal even included creating a position for my sister as communications director with a salary comparable to mine. I sent a polite but firm rejection through my attorney with a note, "No thanks. I prefer to earn things myself." My mother called soon after. saying I'd embarrassed my father by rejecting his generous offer. She revealed their true motivation. We're just trying to secure your sister's future. She's still struggling to find her path. They weren't interested in my business. They were looking for a way to fix my sister's career problems by giving her a slice of what I'd built. The situation came to a head at Thanksgiving. My father announced to the extended family, "We're helping Junior here expand his video business into a real family enterprise." When I stated I had declined the offer, my sister snapped, "You're just being selfish. You know I need this opportunity." I replied, "What you need is to build your own skills instead of trying to capitalize on mine. Everyone here has watched you get handed opportunities your entire life while I work for everything I have." My grandmother, surprising everyone, spoke up. "He's right. You've always favored her, and it's done her no favors." After dinner, my uncle pulled me aside. "I've been watching this dynamic for years. Good for you for standing your ground. In the months since, communication has been minimal. My sister moved to another state for a fresh start. According to my grandmother, last week my father emailed me a link to a news article about the streaming platform's success, with a note, 'I always knew you had potential.' I didn't respond. Some relationships can't be fixed with platitudes. I've expanded my home office into a proper studio space. I'm dating someone who celebrates my successes rather than trying to claim them. The twin, who was never good enough, built a life that speaks for itself, and in the end, that's the only validation that matters."